Well, thank you. Welcome to everyone. And I'm just going to give a quick overview of our speaker, Aya. Like many of you, I'm really excited to hear what you have to say and seeing some of your amazing work. Aya is CEO and founder of a company called Creative Aya, which is a startup global software firm revolutionizing AI-driven immersive experiences. What I love, I know we've all heard about lots of AI happening out there in the world of technology, but the fact that this is really very focused on the artistic side, the entertainment side, the artistic, bringing kind of all of those immersive experiences together, it's gonna be really exciting to hear from you. She says she's a digital artist and a data scientist, which also to me is fascinating to really combine those two areas together. Has had her stuff shown in brands, museums, concert halls, and today she's going to share her vision of new ideas in the event landscape and how engagement in the entertainment world is being redefined. So Aya, I will give you the stage and looking forward to hearing from you.
All right, thank you. I'm just going to move this a little over. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming up early to hear this talk on Creative Aya and what we're doing. So before I go in, I'd love to get understanding a little bit more of like who's in the room. So can we do a show of hands of who is working in tech purely? Okay. And then is there any like developers, any coders in the room? Okay, so it's gonna help how much like tech or like technical words I should say or not. And then I think that's on this. Any artists in the room? I know one in the back. Cool, cool. All right, so this is a good synopsis of who I am. I'm the CEO, a data scientist, multimedia artist, and I've recently also added AI advisor, given that the explosion of AI and every company pitching, or not pitching, but changing their game plan to how can we incorporate AI. And I'm going to walk through some of these brand components because it really tells how I got to Creative Aya and where I am now. So at the very end is the Math Olympics. So in middle school, I signed up for the Math Olympics for fun. Yes, I wanted to spend time after school, like learning how to do quick mathematical problems so I can get tested on it. But I also like love drawing. I also ran track, but I really, really loved like applying myself. And so between that time, I then went to University of Florida for my undergrad, and I'm Nigerian American. So I first majored in biology and thought I was going to be a doctor and wasn't really enjoying those courses. But in between that time, I also got a research assistant job at USDA Agriculture Research Center. And that was a lab that I was fortunate to be on my campus at University of Florida. And one thing that UF really pushed for us from like day one was to do research, and to network. So even how I got into USDA was more of my curiosity, where I saw like that there was a talk going to happen on my campus around public health in Kenya. And as a Nigerian American, I was very curious about what was happening in Africa. I learned about it, asked the professor, hey, can I do research with you? He said, sure, go get trained at USDA. And then again, for me, just talking to the folks there, I learned that they were hiring a research assistant. And so that's how I ended up working there for 3 years. And during that time, I was in a lab, basically a lab rat. I was working on how to basically reduce infectious disease in West Africa, looking at West Nile virus and malaria. But I was literally researching on the mosquitoes. So 3 years into that, I realized that's not really for me, but it was a really great experience. And I really wanted to get into the field. And so that's where the Peace Corps comes in. And then I graduated from undergrad. I went to Senegal as a public health volunteer. And during my time there, the first year, I really tried to do a lot of projects that honestly failed. My community was a very rural environment where there wasn't any electricity, there wasn't any running water. And so to understand my community a little bit more, I did UX research. I did some surveys to really understand what do they determine as their most important problem, and how much can I build up a program that really ensures that they are the ones that really like take ownership of the problem. Like, I don't want this to be charity. I want this to be something that's building capacity. And so during that time, that's really where I saw the power of data, because through my survey, my village was about 1,000 people. I surveyed them. I did some analysis to show, compared to all the houses in the community, this is the actual situation for latrines, which are the first stage of a toilet. So, which is basically a hole in the floor. When I surveyed the village, no one really had a proper form of that. So when I applied for my grant, I got 12 times the amount that a normal volunteer had because I had the data. And that was when I realized, whoa, data is powerful. And so after I finished the Peace Corps, I then went to Boston University to get my master's in public health and biostatistics. And I also interned at USAID, where I was able to go to Liberia to do some research post-Ebola, specifically around what was the country's response to preventing Ebola for pregnant women. And I was able to work with the Ministry of Health as well as USDA, to really be able to understand, define the questions and compare to different health systems. And so after I graduated, which now we're at 2017, we have a new president who cuts public health funding. And my mentor actually at USAID, recommended I look into data science. She said a lot of people who were in the monitoring evaluation on the stats side of public health were switching to data science. So I was like, okay. And then also simultaneously, because Trump, stopped funding, I had to just kind of throw myself to any opportunity. And my first job I got was at the Army Institute of Research. And that's where I did research specifically on understanding, like working with big data. I was working with the military population, so millions of data. And even though that's not my mission, I was really driven about getting my results correct. But again, back to the funding, I experienced a furlough for 2 months. So there in that time period, that is really where I started to just apply to a lot of different things, exploring data science. And everyone's eyes really opened up in 2017 every time I said, hey, I'm looking for data science work. And so through that, that's how I actually got my job at Deloitte. I came in with a SAS and R programming skills, and through my 5 years at Deloitte, I switched to Python, and I've worked with 5 different agencies and developed multiple AI programs. The one that I'm going to highlight here is the State Department. So I was at the State Department from 2019 to 2021, and we brought, honestly, the first form of data science to the State Department in all the different branches. And one of the projects that I really changed my trajectory was my first natural language processing project. So again, before ChatGPT and LLMs, we were working on this. And what we were able to do was, because again, State Department, we looked at Chancellor Merkel's speeches over a span of 10 years, and we identified the main topics as well as the sentiment. And the topics could be compared to her topics for different countries or different presidents, and then understanding the tonality, how she responds to this. And then with my statistical background, I also looked at the time series within the years to see if there are any statistical differences between the topics, between her perspectives, so the State Department can make decisions. And so with all of that, it was very informative, but I just kept going through different industries at Deloitte that I would get really deep into it, but I realized that's not really my passion. That's not really my mission. And so now we're in pandemic, we're in 2021, and I saw that Stanford had this opportunity to do some research for AI. And this one was specifically for Black women in AI. So I was like, oh, that's me. And, and it was just $1,500. So to me, I was like, okay, this is really an opportunity where money doesn't matter. And this is something for you to just do what you care for, what you're passionate about. And so again, back to 2021, I wanted to think of how can I, generally contribute to Black Lives Matters in a way that's unique to myself with my skill sets. And so I looked at the intersection of natural language processing, generative modeling, and Afrofuturism. And I wanted to really look and see, can we create these images? Do we have to wait for Hollywood to really bring visuals to life? And I wanted to do that by creating this co-creative system where I first brought in an entire textbook. So again, taking from my experience at the State Department. So instead of speeches, I looked at a story, a book called Binti, and again, grabbed those main topics, understood where within the story those topics were, and then I put it through my model to generate different visuals to represent that. And so now we are at Art Basel. So 2 months later, 2 of those pieces from my first collection made it into Art Basel. And that was really when I realized, like, okay, things are happening. And a few months later, my artwork made it to Artsy, to Vellum, and then in London. And so by then, I really understood, like, okay, this is something that's rising. I want to go further in it, but I didn't really understand more than just being an artist, but I wanted to also still bring in this business side. So that's how A16Z comes into the picture. So this was honestly a cold connection. When I had the art collection in Art Basel and then in Artsy, there was a bid for the work that I was creating. And I was looking for someone or, an organization that would want to collect my work. So I was encouraged to reach out to Chris, who works at A16Z, to see if they'd be interested in my work. And from there, honestly, it's just been like a perfect match that I've gotten a lot of advising opportunity through meeting them and also through shaping the business. And so that's where Creative Aya was born. So in the past year, and I'll talk more details on Creative Aya, of course, throughout this presentation, we've gone through a lot of different transitions of teams, transition of business models, transition of what we're making. But right now we are at a point where we've gone to our first accelerator, which is through Project W. And it's like a crash course for an MBA for me. So we have the first draft of our business model, of our cap table, of our financial model. And now we get to work with different experts to finalize it. And so as I'm doing all of these things, at the bottom are some things I'm doing ongoing as well. So Repower and the Ford Foundation, I'm working as a mentor to 2 data professionals who one is getting her master's at Harvard and the other is industry professional. And they're in an 8-month fellowship program where they're developing a tool to make health data more accessible around heart disease. And then with Cooperative Impact Lab, I'm an AI advisor where I advise about 10 companies on how they can incorporate AI into their business. And then I most recently got into Level Ground Art Residency, which is in LA. It's a year-long art residency where I will be exploring the intersection between AI, dance movement, specifically African dance movement, and digitizing and like ensuring that there's no cultural erasure. And also last thing to say about that is that there'll be a solo show in March. So super excited about that. And I'm reading heavily because I'm like, oh, you guys believe me when I pitch this. I'm training AI on African dances, and then I'm going to create synthetic dances from that. And then there'll be a live performance with me and this generative AI synthetic avatar. So check it out in March. And the last thing I'll say here is the Max Ernst Museum, which I'm really excited about. At the end of this month, we will be there for their first ever digital museum collection. And Max Ernst, he's one of the pioneers of surrealism. And so this will be their first work where there'll be digital surrealist artists and Max Ernst art in conversation together. Okay. And these are just some highlights, but I'll show some art and then we'll switch to a demo. So this is the piece that was in London, and this piece will also be in Germany next year, specifically this one, Restorative Afrofuturism. And I'll just walk through some of the pieces. And this one we created in last year, and it was modeling one of the Qatar's FIFA stadiums. So literally, like the way they designed it in Qatar is that as the sun moves, you'll actually see the stadium change colors. And so we wanted to reimagine that in the future. And then I'll get to you. This is actually in Dubai, this exhibition. Yeah, let me try to bring it closer. Is that better? Okay. Okay, I'll just hold it. See if that works. Is this good? Okay. All right. All right. So this piece is called Celestial Phoenix Goddess, and this is a two-part work that I created where I'm actually part of this work. And I also put it into my model and used Touch Designer to create this disappearing act to really focus on the different pieces of the art, because depending on how long you look at it, some people may not even realize that there's like a bird right here and there's a bird up there. And so providing that blur behind allows you to focus more on the different pieces. And yeah, I'll switch. I have 2 more presentations to talk through, so bear with me. All right, so this one, I just kind of want to go into where we are now. So you saw like some of my artwork, you've heard my story, but now I'm going to talk more about Creative Aya and then Immersive, the platform that we're building. So I would say last October, as you know, as I've been able to get our artwork in different countries and we're brainstorming and really understanding like what is the business side of this? How can we make this useful to others? I met an artist named My Guy Mars, and he's a producer. He's produced for like Kanye West, Snoop Dogg, you know, he has a great list of artists, Jay-Z, etc. And I say he's basically doing what, if anyone knows who DJ Khaled is, where DJ Khaled went from a producer to an artist. So that's Mars' plan. And so when we met Mars, I really wanted to work with him because he had a very futuristic mindset. He was creating digital art, digital NFTs. And so I was like, hey, we can work together. I can create this immersive experience around your music. And I spent a few times getting to understand him, visiting his studio. And in his studio, he has different screens that have these endless loops of space. His name is Mars. His recording label, is called Spaceship Records. So when we got his album, I knew that we basically had to take people to his planet. And so that's what this experience is about. And so on our platform, what we're doing is enabling folks to not only create an experience, but be able to track every person who's interacting with the experience, as well as providing them a digital keepsake, so a digital twin or a capture of their experience that they can share. And what do I mean by that? I'll share more as we walk through the actual experience. So Planet Mars, it's a 4-part immersive experience. I see it kind of like haunted house style. You walk through different rooms, a succinct storyline. Oh, do we have music? I guess not. Let me see. Well, it's okay. There was music, but it's all right. So the way we have it is the first time you walk through the experience, everything is projected. So there's no wearable gear. This is an in-person experience. And you're transported, you're taken on a voyage to his actual planet. Okay. And so the first part for users is able to actually explore and engage with the planet. There'll be potentially like a joystick that users can look around, look up, look down, and really understand and get into the immersion of who he is and understand like you're on his planet. What we're using here is 3D mapping as well as Touch Designer software, and we've also used different generative models to create the actual visuals. Now, this is the piece where you actually get the digital keepsake. So one piece we have here is before you can enter his planet, you need to create an avatar. And our technology, as you can see here, as you move, it's capturing your body without anything on you. And so, and then this piece at the bottom is actually me. And we want everyone to be able to curate their own experience to be able to share it. Like, I probably watched this video like 60 times. Like, I became obsessed with it. And so it's that ability of you co-created this experience and now you get to keep it. You were able to keep it and access it through our Immersive platform. The next piece we have here is you've created your avatar, you're on your voice's planet. And now we want you to create a galaxy code. And this is actually an audio visualizer where we'll have a different knob that is blending different planets with the music. And that will also be something that you can keep for yourself. And again, all of this is built in Touch Designer. And this is a work in progress. This is a lyrical statue. And so the idea behind this is that we will have his lyrics within the statue, and then people can participate in two ways, whether you like to freestyle, so you can freestyle and it'll be added onto the digital statue, where Mars' lyrics are in white, your lyrics would be in red or blue. Or, I'm not a freestyler, so if I just wanted to add or contribute to the statue, there'll also be a type, like an iPad where you can also add your contribution. And so based off of what you contributed, you'll also be able to take that piece home with you. And so this is a new way that we can basically rethink even listening parties. So you came to the experience, you really got to understand Mars, but you got to engage, it was a gamification, you got to take different things home with you. So we see this really as a benefit of being able to seamlessly capture your experience. Also, the fact that most of these experiences are distraction free. And especially in the world where we're, always competing with TikTok and different social media apps, or even a text message, these experiences make you want to be present. They make you want to connect. And now I'm going to switch to what we're building. Right. All right. And so when we think about that, now we put it into the business concept. What is the problems that we're actually addressing with this? We're increasing engagement. There's low engagement, especially in entertainment, where, what is it that I actually going to keep me fully present versus being on my phone? And then there's that part of personalization where it's like, oh, I created this. I was able to do this and share it. And it allows you to become connected to the experience, but also to the brand. And then this also provides new opportunities to not fully depend on traditional revenues for your entertainment. And so we look at our solution now, I can speak more to the AI aspect, where all those parts of your experience being captured, we're leaving that to AI so that you can just be present, you can just enjoy. To an extent, it's like a new photo booth without you having to be the one to capture your perfect moment. So we look at this again as photo booths with digital twins, where digital twins is just like the experience that you had and being able to give it back to you. And then from that piece, so for example, that 4-part experience, we would also be able to provide a personalized reel of this experience at the end, so that you can again share it online. You can able to share it online, and also from like the company's perspective, that's a lot of user-generated content that can lead to other advertising opportunities, especially with the digital statue. Like that can be an endless statue that he can bring to his concerts. It can be used in commercials. It can exist for years that you can just continually to add to it. And then there's the global scalability of a recommendation engine. So ultimately, because we're not just a studio that's creating an immersive experience, that's where we started. But now we're enabling others who also do this with our technology of being able to provide that digital keepsake back to the attendee. So with that, I really see ImmerseMe as in the future, similar to Airbnb, where you're traveling to maybe Houston and you want to know what's going on, what are the immersive experiences that I want to go to, and the model can understand from, hey, you went to the My Guy Mars experience in LA, you might like this. Or in terms of how your work is being edited, we can understand like, hey, you shared this part more than these others. So the model will understand and relearn and have that personalization in terms of how you want your work to be edited and shared. And the last piece is the insight for entertainment. So, I definitely have to bring in as a data scientist, like there's so much data that you can use and leverage. And so with that, we also want to give that back to the brands to understand, potentially like in the experience, which ones did people stay the longest? Which experiences did people share online the most? Maybe for Mars as an artist, like which of the songs did people like care about the most? Do you see a connection or correlation between the experience and trending on Spotify? So there's different ways that we can provide the insights for this experience. And so again, really just like emphasizing what the AI advantage is, it's really allowing folks to stay in the moment and be more connected with each other without worrying about having to capture it. I was sharing this with my brother-in-law, my sister last week when I was in Houston. Because again, I'm a startup, so we're constantly building this, I'm constantly pitching. And he was like, that would be so great because I don't like to take pictures that much, but I want my experience captured. And then, and so, yeah, I think I've kind of touched on these pieces, so I won't go too much that. But when we talk about the use cases, we see this working with brand partners, whether it's a marketing lead or the experiential team. We also see this in concerts or performances, galleries or museums, and corporate events. Because one piece I didn't highlight here is that we're also making it streamlining from the ticket sale to the entire experience. So it's not just I create a cool immersive experience, but now you can actually streamline from tickets being bought, you capture the person experience, you've captured their data, you've shared their data, and you can understand how they use that data after the experience. And so when we talk about the tech again, that middle layer is an API connection. So basically being able to integrate their software with what we're building, ensuring that the experiences are memorable, unforgettable, and again, providing that analytics. In terms of the market we see, and this is data from 2021, immersive technology was 21 billion, AI, media, entertainment was 10 billion, and then live events, because that's our main place where we have this, is 14 billion. So when we add this all up, we're looking at about a 45 billion market that is untapped in this experience. Specifically, I would say untapped in how immersive experiences can be even better. Because I personally go to different immersive experiences and just like, this is good, but it could be so much better. Like, I want to take my experience with me. And I won't touch too much on the business model, but just to show that, it's different layers, it's a subscription model, depending on the size of your event will depend on what software subscription you'd like. When we think of our competitors, this is the initial list. Of course, Eventbrite. Someone also said to me, this is like Eventbrite on 10. I was like, oh, I like that. Dice, Cbet, Visiboo. But recently, one of my advisors actually said I should also consider like social media, phones, anything that will take your attention away is also our competitor. And I think I've really emphasized this enough, so I won't go into much details there. But just again, in terms of our attraction and our reach. So I'm really big on manifesting. And in 2022, I wrote down at the beginning of the year, like art will be in 7 countries. And at the end of this month, it will be in 7 countries: Germany, Paris, Dubai, Austria, London, and the US, of course. So we've been able to test out our brand experience in LA in 2 different experiences. One was in a playground like space that we just invited people to play with our tech. And then we also did it at Mars' monthly event that he has with his fans. And some of the feedback we've gotten was, this beats a photo booth hands down. This would be great in, this is like, be great for raves, like love all the different colors. We even got like, this would be great at a wedding. This would be great at a tour. So many cool ideas that we got just from people experiencing this, from experiencing it. And then in terms of our go-to-market plan, we are, strongly partnered with A16Z. We've also just established a partnership with Invisible Universe. They have the Quay franchise, which is Serena Williams' digital character. She has about 4 million followers on TikTok. She has a book. She has so many things. And so we're in development of building out an immersive experience for her. And then, of course, I've talked about our artist, My Guy Mars. In terms of our team, so we have Sade, who really is like my right hand on the creative side. We work really strongly together in building out all of the experiences. And she's also currently working at Showtime, doing similar work. And she's also a junior at USC. Then we have Huberi Hu. He is definitely the business side of this. He's helped me build a lot of financial models, really understanding our landscape. And yeah, he's great. And then when we talk about the advisors, we have Diana Williams, Dario Zizani. They both lead a company called Kinetic. And Diana, she was one of the producers for Star Wars. She used to work for the Lucas Foundation. And then Dario, he's ex-Disney. He was there for 12 years in other companies. And so they really are helping me think really critically about, what are we building? Who really is our customer? What is the model? Really understanding how we can get this out to the masses. Then we have Rachel Joy Victor. She is, let me move this down. There we go. Rachel Joy Victor, she is our design strategist. And I really have to give her the credit of even the idea around a digital keepsake, really making sure that we're designing something that people want to use after, and how can we enable that? And then we have Olu Davis. He has held the brand strategist role at ESPN, Disney, Vice, Rock Nation. And so we're working very closely right now around building out different personas and UX questions to really ensure that as we bring this to the market, that we're really satisfying what our customer needs. And then Jumjai, she is the first person to believe in me in LA. I've been here for 2 years. And I met her after the Art Basel through that connection, actually. And so she's working with us in terms of growth and investment advisors, really ensuring that as we are building out this product, that we're constantly thinking about when we are ready to fund, that we're building something that is fundable. And then we have Jeremy Kamal Hartley. He's a Harvard grad and also a SciAc grad. He's also just ensuring that the richness of the stories that we build in our R&D really resonates with folks. And then last, we have Eva Satcher. She's also my mentee, and she used to work at Deloitte, which is how we got connected. And I used to actually do a lot of data science ethics work at Deloitte. And through that, she really took the baton and then went to school at Yale and got her master's. And now she leads that work for other companies. And so especially with every part of AI, we need to think about being responsible. But of course, from the artist perspective, that's also very key, especially around all the UGC generated content or the fact that we will be global. And so there's different data privacy laws between different countries. And so Eva's ensuring that we are compliable. And yeah, so that is the overall talk, and love to hear any questions you guys have.
All right, wow. I loved your journey. Oh my gosh, just hearing, I always wondered, like, okay, from a data scientist and an artist, how did it all come to life? And just talking and hearing about your journey, I can see how where you are today has just had so much impact on where you've been.
Right.
So I'll start out with a question and then love to open it up to all of you. Please remember that your question has to have a question mark at the end. It's not a lot of comments. I will be here afterwards, and if you want to come up and talk to her, you can. So please be really specific with your question. So my first question is, you've gone through a lot, especially as you started Creative Aya. So many moving parts, technology, data, insights, information, people, starting a new company. If you think about maybe one of your top challenges and how you overcame that, what would you say that was?
Yeah.
You don't have to always pick just one, but think about your top.
I'd say my top challenge is actually an easy thing to answer, but it's constructing my team. That I think was like the biggest thing in terms of making sure that I have the right people in the room. So when I first built my team, it was off of like friends in the industry, like friends I worked at Deloitte with, who just wanted to help me. And so with that, their level of like work ethic was just not what I needed. It's not what the company needed, I should say. And so I was able to amicably let them go and then just like be in different rooms. So I mean, I honestly recruited everyone besides Eva, just from being in different rooms and talking to different folks and like realizing we have a strong connection or alignment in terms of our passion. But also I wanted to make sure that I had experts in the rooms. So I could not really build this company really without many meetings with them and ensuring that, you know, they bring in their different industry knowledge to the room.
Great. All right, I'll open the floor. Go ahead and maybe Evan's got the microphone.
I had one question for you. In terms of your market segments, have you explored, in terms of tourism, you've already got some of that, but sort of tourism at the governmental level? So if you've ever been to Hong Kong, they have an entire display where the whole city is lit up and, you know, music is blasting through the city. Like I think it's once a night or something like that. And your immersive experience just made me think back to experiencing that, where you've got an entire city lit up, and what that might look like if you just took the next step instead of trying to immerse people in your city in the physical world, but also adding the digital and AI into that. I was just curious if you thought of that and if you're doing anything like that. That would be really amazing.
Yeah, that would be amazing. We haven't approached tourism, but I do get a lot of people say like, have you heard about Japan? Like, have you heard what they're doing in Japan? So that's definitely on my radar.
Oh, and for those of you who have questions, name quick 5 word intro. My name is Cameron. I'm in art development, sales engineering. I really like, blowing my mind here, as I'm sure you do whenever you speak. I go to a lot of concerts. I'm an older guy. So I was really intrigued by your definition, or your wrestling with the concept of engagement and what does it look like. I will put a question mark at the end of this, but it was like when I go to a show and I see people, when you're near the back and you just see a row of screens, right? Everybody, and so I wrestle with, is that engagement or is it not? And I don't know, because right there, they're so worried about capturing an image or a memory. Maybe that's exactly what you're addressing.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, your phone and your shooting skills are not that great as an attendee, and so you spend half the concert to try to get a good shot and then share with all your friends. But I think that what you're trying to do is make that easier for people. And then just generally, if you could talk a little about what I see as that kind of dilemma or conflict between engagement of like the old school, just be there and watch every move on the stage, and we didn't all bring cameras, to kind of what young people are doing now, which is there is an engagement, but they're fiddling with their phones so much that sometimes they watch the whole show through a screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine that's what you're talking about. How do you balance those two? And I think that digital keepsake is your way to help them to accomplish that.
Yeah, exactly. So it is addressing the problem of the fact that people are always on their phone, and sometimes they're taking these selfies and these brand activations that they don't even know what brand it is, because they're just so focused on them, and so that is what we want to enable, is being present. You don't need your phone. It's going to be captured. You're going to get the experience and you can be present.
Hi everyone, Darren Higa, first of all, 26 years in tech myself, but thank you for coming. Thank you for the amazing presentation today. I'm very curious about the Web3 blockchain connection. And by the way, I'm a member of a Web3 community called Nova 3. It's Hollywood based. I know about 15, 20 people that would be very, very interested in hearing from you and even possibly presenting there at one of our meetups. But my question is, you didn't really talk much about the Web3 blockchain connection. You're connected with E16Z, who invested billions into Web3. So I'm curious, what is the Web3 NFT and any other connection that you have with Creative IM?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, and to be very transparent, we were focused in our first iteration of including blockchain. And so with the idea of the digital keepsake, it would be basically minting it on the blockchain. However, we have actually delayed the blockchain development for like in the future, more for like the connotation around blockchain. So I'm also like curious, I guess, like asking you a question back, if that's possible, in terms of just what has your experience been given the different public perspectives around blockchain?
Yeah, I can just quickly comment. I'd love to come talk to you afterwards as well, but obviously the general public perception has changed pretty dramatically over the past couple of years, especially in the US. But I had a meeting with a senior partner at BCG, Boston Consulting Group. He oversees Web3 and digital asset consulting engagements across the world. And it is booming in Europe, it is booming in Asia, and it is starting to gain more interest in the US. But the communities that I'm part of are extremely bullish about what Web3 can bring, specifically on things like ownership, true ownership of digital assets. And again, I'd love to come talk to you afterwards. But
yeah, same.
the spaces that I'm in are very bullish, but the overall sentiment is not quite there yet.
Gotcha.
This man's name is Darren, so you can find that.
Okay.
Anyone else? Questions? I'm the Liam Keith. We're doing our let's see, 1996. 27 years ago? Okay, yeah. So I think we're about the same. So I teach tech geek, worked for big companies, small companies. I was to Disney, actually, Dario and I are friends. So it's fun to see his face up there.
Awesome.
So the question I have, by the way, amazing story. Thank you for sharing all that, and really, really cool work. The question I have is about data. So you've got these immersive experiences. What kind of are you? So are you still interested in keeping on data? Are you gathering? Because I imagine I would be interested in all the data of how people are interacting with these experiences. What, you know, and then the dance stuff. What, you know, actually it's so much fun. Like, okay, this is what people seem uncomfortable. I mean, I'm sure you can get sentiment out of movement. Like, are you digging into all that stuff?
Well, definitely. Well, and when you say data, is it more of just like data sets or more like how I'm creating art to explore that?
So it's a little bit of the first,
okay.
But based on the second. So you're creating all this art from data, right? And then many of your art things are interactive and immersive, and you've got little cameras on people at some point or the internet. So
right, exactly.
So you're gathering, you've got the ability. Are you creating any sort of feedback, or at least just trying to get the data and learn from it to see what's happening?
Definitely. Like the AI will only learn through that. So we build everything on AWS cloud, and so all that data is stored there, and then it's used to train the model. But then we also are looking at other data sets that do capture like facial recognition, that are open source, that capture like facial recognition, body movements, and different things like that. And also, so I was fortunate through my time at Deloitte to get trained on NVIDIA Omniverse. And so we'd also leverage NVIDIA Omniverse to do simulated environments to generate data as well of like the different interactions.
So I have a question as a follow-up to that. How are you dealing with, and well, are you finding it challenging? And then how are you dealing with the challenges of privacy and that sort of sphere thing, particularly GDPR's, strong in requirements.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we have Eva, our responsible and equitable AI advisor. And so when we are working with different data sets, I'm always double checking with her, thinking through like, is this okay? Or like, what should we state in like the public and how we're using the data or how to attribute the data that we're creating or building upon. Yep.
Any other questions? I have one more, if that's okay.
All right, you're the last one. We're gonna take a picture.
One of the things I love about what you do is that it is very inclusive by design. Can you talk through a little bit about how you make your platforms and all the technology that you've created sort of fundamentally inclusive? I mean, like recently there was this thing where some Chinese woman asked AI to make her more, make a headshot that's professional and turned her from being Chinese to white, which was kind of interesting. But like it seems to me you have this, you're creating this platform from the ground up, to make it more fundamentally inclusive and less biased, right?
Right. So again, our girl Eva is definitely going to be a part because she's also a data scientist as well. And so as we are developing our models, that will be something that we look in testing and just really validating through different experiences to see how the model is responding. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Well, thank you. Please give a round of applause.